Day 6. The night shined cold and the wind howled as the ambulance members carried a boy of the age of 18 out of a dark brown house and into an ambulance. The house was surrounded by miles and miles of black forest, a sight you normally see in Maine. Detective Phillip Johnson stood outside the Do Not Cross tape, smoking a cigarette, watching the boy confused and somewhat in shock. He has never seen anyone like this boy. The boy crawled up on the stretcher, covered in massive amounts of blood, with wide eyes, never blinking, just staring into the darkness. Philip noticed the boy mumbling words, but the wind was too loud to understand what the 18-year-old boy was saying. Detective Philip was at a horrible crime scene. 3 people were brutally murdered, and this 18-year-old went either completely insane and killed them, or witnessed the whole thing. Philip steps underneath the Do Not Cross tape and into the crime scene, looking around the area for clues. Seeing none, he approached the police officer standing outside of the somewhat new house. "Take me to the scene," Detective Philip asked, throwing the cigarette on the ground. The cigarette burned the grass around it as the 2 men entered the home. They were in the basement. The basement had divided rooms from storage, or he assumed the 18-year-old's room. They walked down the long and dark hallway. The only light seen was a small lamplight and a flash of a camera. The 2 men entered the room and tried not to throw up. There in the room had what seemed like a paint layer of blood on everything. The ceiling, the walls, and the floor. What made matters worse was on every single foot of the room was guts and dismembered body parts of the 3 victims. You couldn't even tell who they were due to the fact that their faces were torn off their heads. A CSI member kneed on the floor taking pictures of the whole area. He moved his hand across his nose as if trying to get the horrible smell away, and stood up. "CSI James Matthews," he introduced himself. "Detective Phillip Johnson," Philip responded. "What do you think happened here?" "I honestly don't know," James began. "The blood spatter on the bed and the boy shows he laid there as the 3 victims were murdered. I believe the people that you see scattered around the room is his family." He pauses and holds his hand against his mouth as if he's going to be sick. James continues, "Sorry. I took blood samples and had them sent to the lab for testing. How they die is hard to say. They're too dismembered to tell what weapon was used to possibly kill them." "So the boy didn't kill him?" Philip asked. "Then who did?" "Someone who is very large in size. All the rooms are used for storage. I collected blood samples on the top of the stairs. It seems as all 3 victims were dragged simultaneously down the stairs and murdered, here in this room." Philip peeked out the door. Down the hallway, there's no blood showing that they were killed upstairs, proving James' story. "Anything else?" "Yes, this is what's very strange to me. There was a 911 call about 45 minutes ago to this area. When the operator answered the call, there was no answer for the first 15 seconds. Then, an answer that spoke, 'Now you will suffer.' The line went dead after that. I assume it was the murderer who spoke in the phone. What puzzles me is that there is no evidence of the murder even in this room. In this whole house. No footprints, no fingerprints, or hair samples anywhere in the house. Like the killer washed away the evidence, but there's no way all evidence could be destroyed in 45 minutes. I even looked outside to see if there is any trace of the killer that had entered this house. But the police officer told me the door was locked when he arrived, and no footprints could be found around the house. Not even broken glass or an unlocked window could be found." James takes a deep breath, as if he's going to tell Philip something that strikes him with absolute fear. The worst part of all this is a laptop on the victim's desk. wasn't covered in blood. Not a single drop touched it. He paused and pulled out a laptop out of the crime bag that was laid next to James the whole time and handed it to Philip. Philip took the laptop and pulled it out of the dark bag. Fear had overtaken him. On the back of the laptop, with what seemed like an animal clawing at a door, on the laptop it read, "Now you will suffer." The same phrase the operator heard on the 911 call. In the bag with the laptop was a webcam, which was in a separate bag because it was covered in blood. "What's with the webcam?" Philip asked, trying not to be scared. It was attached to the laptop. The laptop also has a tab with 6 files. Maybe you should check them out. I'll get right to that. I'll get right to it. Thanks for your evidence, James. I'll keep in touch with you for the next few days. James gives him a quick nod, and Philip walked down the hallway to the opening of the door. He stopped and looked up the stairs, thinking he saw something tall and white, animal-like, staring at him in the corner of his eye. But when he turned and looked, nothing was there. He walked out the door and noticed the cigarette was still burning in the grass. Philip stood there and watched in amazement, burning the grass slow. He stomped it out and entered into his car, putting the laptop in the passenger seat, turning the car on and driving off. He lighted a cigarette due to the fact that that's the only thing he truly loves. His wife left him with the kids, leaving him nothing. Even though the kids were old enough to contact him, they never tried. All Philip does now is spend most of his time at the office and smoke pack after pack of smokes. He always enjoyed the feeling of smoking a cigarette. He felt alive and had no worries. Philip was a 15-year-old detective, always thinking of the job first. He never liked to have a case die, especially one like this. Every case ever was given to him was solved. Someone always went to jail. Driving to the office, all he could think about was the crime scene. The boy covered in blood, wide-eyed, mumbling words, and the evidence showing no murder ever existing, like it never even happened. He pulled into the parking lot of his office and parked his car close to the door. It was late night, so no members of the task force were there. As he exited the car with a laptop and webcam in hand, he couldn't shake the feeling of something was watching him. Trying to take no notice to it, he enters the building, locking the door behind him, and enters his office. He slowly closes the door and puts the shade down from the glass window. This made him feel completely isolated from the whole building. He locked the door, placed the webcam on the shelf next to the door with his badge, gun, and other belongings he didn't want in his pocket. His desk was placed away from the door due to the fact that he felt that way people can talk behind his back, like they have for his whole life. Sitting in his chair, he sat the laptop on the desk, opening the lid. The screen brightens up the entire office, showing the last thing that was opened. The desktop was completely blank. No icons, no background picture, just blank with a tab open. The tab had no title, but inside the tab had 6 different video files. The file shown first was titled Day 1. The rest were titled Day 2 through 6. Eager to know what happened to the boy, Philip instantly clicked on Day 6, but the file was corrupt. Philip's curiosity grew, wanting to know what the other files had in store. So he clicked on Day 1. A video player opened automatically, showing a webcam getting into focus. There in the camera view was the 18-year-old boy. He announced what day it was and what time it was, and told about his whole day with a huge smile. He spoke how happy he was to get out of work early and made plans with his family to go bowling, but then his smile went away. The boy looked sort of creeped out when he began to talk again. He told that every day before he went to bed around 10 p.m. he would go outside to use the bathroom because he didn't want to wake up his parents, and it was easier that way. He said he did this for weeks and weeks, just going outside and peeing, but today was different. He said he went outside to use the bathroom. He had an uneasy feeling. As he looked ahead, he saw this white creature, pure white. It had very tall legs, like horse legs, and a torso, like body, but no head. It looked to be tall as he was, but wasn't sure due to the fact it was on a hill. It just stood there. He knew the thing was watching him even though it had no head, just standing there, not moving, and not making a sound. This freaked him out, so he ran inside and locked the door. That was the reason he was posting this, to give detail of this certain creature that he had witnessed. Or was it just his eyes playing tricks on him? That's where the video ended. Showing no evidence of the murder, Phillip then clicked on Day 2. The file opened the same way as the others did, but no smile was on the boy's face. He spoke in fear, saying that his curiosity got the better of him, and he went back outside for the second time to see if the creature was there. It was, standing there in the same place he saw it before, but something was different this time. He spoke that the creature then grew a head out of its body, as if the head was hiding in there. It was shaped as a wolf's face, but twice as big as any wolf ever seen. And then the thing grows a smile from ear to ear, showing rows of very sharp and yellow teeth. He almost began to cry as he said the thing that made Phillip shiver. He said the monster began to laugh, a horrible, deep laugh, as if the monster knew he was scaring him. It just laughed and laughed with that deep yellow smile. Not staying for long, he did the same thing as he did before and ran inside and locked the door. The video ends there, and Phillip's pride made him proceed on. He clicks on Day 3. The video opens and shows the boy's eyes black, as if he hasn't slept all day. He speaks of how working the late night shift and having the feeling that the thing was watching him through the trees as he worked outside. He said whenever he looked, nothing was there, but he could hear the laugh over and over again. The same deep laugh the night before. The video ends. Phillip clicks on the next day, and the next day, hitting Day 5. The video opens slowly, and the boy, all he did was cry for 15 minutes. He cried that he saw the monster everywhere now, at home, in the bathroom, at work, at a friend's house, everywhere. He even saw the face and the smile in his dreams, the thing laughing and laughing, repeating a phrase, "You hurt my forest, now you will suffer." The clip ends there, and Phillip looks at the screen in horror of what he just witnessed. He's about to close the tab when the computer makes a loud beep. He looked at the file. Day 6 wasn't corrupt anymore. Thinking oddly to it, he double-clicked on the file. There, sitting at the screen, was the 18-year-old boy, holding a pistol in his hand. The boy was crying, repeating the words, "I can't take the laughing anymore." The boy puts the pistol to his head. You can see him slowly sliding his finger back on the trigger. A noise is heard outside the room, then silence. You begin to hear laughing, deep, dark laughing. The boy points the gun at the door, screaming, "Go away!" The door flies open. The boy is pushed back into his bed. He begins to cry heavily, the webcam still focused on him. The laughing gets louder and louder, then stops. "You have hurt my forest. Now you will suffer. You will lose the thing you truly love." That's when you notice in the boy's hand is a cell phone. You can just make out the screen as the phone reads, "No service." You're the thing walking up the stairs, opening a door. A loud scream is heard, then silence. You hear something sliding on the floor towards the stairs. Thump, thump, thump. Over and over you hear as the thing brings something down the stairs. It gets silent for 15 seconds. Then out of nowhere, the three victims get thrown into the room in front of the camera. The boy's cries get louder and louder as what it looks like to be his mother gets lifted in the air. The woman looks at the camera, reaching a hand out. She sounds as if she's gagging for air. The blood pours down her head and she yelps her final words. Help me. In front of the camera, she is torn in half. The webcam gets coated in blood and you can hear the sound of tearing of limbs of the victims for a good minute. Phillip closes the video and begins to throw up on the floor. The picture in his mind of the woman being torn apart has him losing his stomach. Phillip wipes his mouth with a free hand and the other is on his stomach. He reopens the day 6 file. Strangely, the file took a long time to load. The file wasn't of the video before, it's different now. The video showed a dark room with the light of a laptop. Wait a minute. Phillip moves his hand, and so does the video. Somehow the webcam is working across the room, not even plugged into the laptop. To Phillip's horror, he watches something appear behind him. It's tall and pure white, has legs like a horse and a torso. Its head shaped of a wolf's, and it towered over Phillip. You can see the smile this creature gives as it laughs a deep, dark laugh. Phillip reaches for his gun, but then realizes he put it on the shelf next to the creature. His phone rings, and the creature stops laughing, turns its head to his phone. The ringing stops and says out loud, "No service." Shaking, Phillip grabs a smoke out of his pocket and struggles to put it in his mouth. He lights it and listens to the creature. "You have hurt my forest. Now you will suffer. You will lose the thing you truly love." Phillip turns his chair and he's now face to face with the creature, its eyes dark red and the smiles wider. Its eyes never blinking and just staring into his eyes. It opens its mouth and lunges at Phillip. Phillip screams! Then silence. The next day, the office finds, in horror, Phillip in his chair. Cigarette in one hand, his chest ripped open and his lungs and his heart removed. His face was no longer there, just muscle and blood. Blood covered the room, but one thing, that laptop. At Phil's feet, written in his own blood, the same shocking message, "Now you will suffer." His phone beeped, saying one new message. "You have one new message. First message. Phillip, it's James. I got your number from the police officer that night. The blood found that I collected was somehow destroyed. It never showed up for some reason at the lab, and the house now is clean from all blood. And I found out what the boy was mumbling as he left the house. The mental institute told me. I don't know what this means, but the boy was saying, day 6.